What's going to happen after the election? What's going to happen to San Francisco real estate, Bay Area prices, the overall economy here? What does it mean for you and me? Now, I have worked in the mortgage and real estate space for about 24 years. And if there's one thing I've learned, it is that even the slightest thing or a pebble dropping in a pond as far away from here as Washington, D.C. can have a major ripple effect, moving all the way west and have an impact on things such as real estate. And elections, because this is a big year, it's 2024 and we happen to have some big ticket items on the agenda, are certainly going to play a major role in what's going to happen with home prices. Which is why today I want to take a little bit of a deeper look as to ultimately what is going to be impacted by the elections and specifically what that does to right here in the San Francisco Bay Area market. So if you want to know what to brace yourself for over these coming months and as we round out the year of 2024, make sure you stay tuned. Before I get into that, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Arjun Dhingra. I'm a mortgage veteran of about 23 years. I've worked with hundreds upon thousands of homeowners, buyers, and investors buy, move property in and out of, and ultimately refinance their mortgage debt here in the Bay Area. It's a big passion of mine to help people make better decisions around taking out mortgage debt. So if I can be of help or service to you in any way, shape, or form, please reach out to me directly through social media. And above all, as a huge favor, please subscribe to this channel so that I can reach more people like you and like this video so that it can have a greater impact and we can bring you more quality content like this. So let's get into today's topic. So to start out, I think we must acknowledge that politics do play an important role in markets, specifically real estate. There are some out there that would argue that politics have absolutely no role in real estate and that market is completely immune to what goes on politically, but I believe that there is a very specific intersection and an important one between politics and business. And that intersection and combination of two worlds ultimately has an impact on everything. It has an impact on how we live, has an impact on the prices that we're going to pay for gas, how we're going to live our lives, and ultimately, as today's topic is focused on, what it costs us to actually live, what shelter will cost us, whether we rent or buy, specifically here in San Francisco. Now, two events that come to mind over these recent years would be Brexit and the pandemic. Both of them having massive implications globally, but ultimately having a significant impact here on San Francisco real estate, and home prices, or the asset of real estate, ended up increasing in value or in price during both of those events. Now, when it comes to elections, the typical misunderstanding is that with all of the uncertainty surrounding the election, that it somehow causes people within the marketplace to just sit and wait things out. They don't want to buy, they're on the fence, or if they were thinking about selling, they're just going to stay stuck in their home. Now, why is that exactly? There isn't any specific rhyme or reason or an exact science, other than it's just pure psychology. The uncertainty or the instability of what a potential administration or certain key member is going to bring to the overall national landscape will cause people to just get quite fearful and say, I'm going to wait for more stable times or when things start to clear up. Most of that ultimately is in our head, and we forget the one thing, that regardless of who's elected, life goes on. Yes, all the political ads and rhetoric will lead us to believe that one thing is going to end if the other thing happens, or that democracy will end if so-and-so is elected, or that we're going to turn into Denmark if so-and-so is elected, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, the United States marches to its own beat, despite all the influence and all the fanfare and media rhetoric about it. And real estate as an asset class has continued to overperform, and it always will. So specifically looking at elections, although there have been some that have had an impact, it also might surprise you to know that there have been some elections that have been completely moot when it comes to real estate, meaning they've had no impact whatsoever. But with regard to the 2024 election between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris now, what is it that we should be bracing ourselves for? Historical data shows that during the 2008 financial crisis, we saw significant pullback in home prices or home valuations here in the Bay Area. But also during the 2012 election cycle, we saw home prices increase. Now, a lot of that was just because of all the inventory and the market itself starting to sort itself out from the Great Recession, which lasted a good few years. And by 2012, we were really starting to see our way out of it. And that's what gave rise to that spike in home prices here in San Francisco. But in the two most recent elections that we've had, 2016 and 2020, homes actually only experienced modest appreciation. So there's your proof right there that the election outcome ended up kind of being a bit of a nothing burger when it came to home values and home prices. Again, it's a small sample size, but if we go back as far as 2000, when President George W. Bush was elected into office, we saw that the real estate market was just about to start a run for the ages because of low interest rates, very easy access to credit, and a huge boom in demand and household formations. Ultimately, that run, though, led to the great crisis of 2008 when President Obama came into office and had a lot of cleanup to do, including putting back together the entire US banking and financial system. This took some time, but by 2012, during his re-election, we started to see all of that effort pay off in the real estate market, with prices starting to really increase and more people getting back into the market, but more importantly, confidence in real estate really being reestablished. Fast forward to 2016 with the surprise election of Donald Trump, which caught everyone by surprise. And while initially did not have much of an impact on real estate prices here in the Bay Area, but after a few years of low interest rates, very serious economic activity that was quite positive, massive tax cuts that left more dollars in people's pockets, and the implementation of opportunity zones, which created all kinds of real estate investment and interest, led to a huge boom. Before everything came to a screeching halt temporarily in 2020 because of the pandemic. Interest rates at that point got slashed to zero by the Fed. This caused mortgage rates to hit all-time lows. And with so many people looking to move, we saw home prices escalate and increase at clips that have never been seen before in the entire history of the housing asset class. So it's really interesting to see how certain elections will have certain impacts on the overall housing market. Some of it depends on what's going on with the broader economy. A lot of it also depends on who's coming in to deal with that broader economy. And then there's always the black swan events, such as COVID. But what's more important and something to pay attention to is that sometimes it goes well beyond just an election having an impact on the actual real estate market, but other things such as interest rates or inflation, which aren't necessarily one-off events like an election, but are seasonal. These have a greater impact on real estate markets, home prices, the ability to buy, affordability, and also the access to capital. So instead of getting really caught up in all of the hype and mania around the election and what it's going to ultimately do to the real estate market, and of course there's going to be some kind of an impact, what you as a buyer or a current homeowner that's looking to potentially move need to stay acutely focused on is what's going on in your life, and also watching what's happening with interest rates, specifically mortgage rates, because at the end of the day, this is what impacts your purchasing power, your affordability, and how much interest you're going to pay over the short and long run. Now, the Fed does not control mortgage rates, but they do have influence based on their actions. And we've already seen in recent times with no Fed action, but simply by result of inflation getting lower here in the United States and the overall economy, the big picture, starting to show some cracks, mainly with unemployment. This is leading to mortgage rates now getting to a low of 2024. So while just 6 or 7 months ago we hit a 25-year high, we are now at the low for all of 2024. Now, if the Fed does decide, and it's very likely that they will, cut interest rates in September, this is likely going to lead to mortgage rates getting even lower. Again, they're not directly correlated, but there are some behavioral trends between the two. But what about San Francisco specifically? And we've got some other dynamics playing here, especially with the commercial real estate market. So let's look at what the impact is going to be leading up to the election and post-election here for the Golden City. By most predictions and economic accounts, it is highly likely that the median home price here in San Francisco will decrease just slightly, hardly even noticeable, from 1.1 million to just under that at 1.05 million. A little bit more inventory has actually been coming to market, and this has been a result of people's mortgage rates adjusting. A lot of people took out adjustable rate mortgages about 5 years ago. Those loans have now come due or set to adjust, and while the payment was really cheap and affordable at, say, 3%, now at close to 8%, it's a little more uncomfortable. Now, this doesn't mean that we're going to have any sort of market crash or price inversion when it comes to real estate. And that is because homeowners here in the Bay Area, as well as the broader United States, are still sitting on a record amount of equity, which means that even if they can't sell their home for quite as high as they would like to, they're going to still sell it for a pretty big profit or upside. And they will take that money, and because everyone always needs a place to live, they'll go on and either absorb housing inventory somewhere else, buy something else, buy multiple properties. You guys get the point. Now, a lot of that new inventory that's going to come into the market is likely going to be absorbed quite quickly, and that is because of interest rates. And as I was saying, interest rates really are the biggest driver of home buyer activity. Now, for every percentage point that in mortgage rates go either up or down, you get roughly 4 to 5 million buyers that either enter the market or re-enter the market, or they exit the market because they're priced out and it's no longer affordable. So as rates continue to decrease here in 2024, we're going to see more buyers entering the market, which means whatever inventory does come to the market, even though it's been a little bit more, it's going to get absorbed quite quickly. And this will result in prices continuing to climb. So if you already own a home, this is great news for you because the asset is going to go up in value perhaps a little bit faster this year than a regular year. And if you want to buy, you want to be very strategic and intentional and make sure you work with good people with a very, very sound strategy so that you can break through and get your place here in San Francisco. But with mortgage rates continuing to decrease and all the new buyers that are going to enter the market and some of this new inventory that's coming in, but probably is going to be quickly absorbed and affordability going up, I want to hear from you guys and drop me a comment here on this actual video. What do you guys think? Is this a good thing for the market? A bad thing? Does it really not matter? I'm curious to get your guys' take. But the biggest reason why prices will continue to climb and remain up and why a city like San Francisco is always so expensive to live in is because there is such limited inventory and there's no ability to just build out. This is not a suburb. This is a city that is stretched 7 by 7 square miles, which means all the land that's out there is already occupied. The only place to actually build is vertical. There's no open or vacant land to just start putting up a bunch of homes. And even then with development, it is very challenging here in this market because the permitting process is so laden with regulations, fees, and quite honestly, a lot of corruption. But people continue to move to this city because there are such great jobs here and there's a beautiful quality of life to living in the Bay Area. So with all of that high and increasing demand and very limited supply that isn't naturally increasing only by way of people just deciding to sell their existing home and move on, or the housing projects or condos more specifically that finally are able to pass through that gauntlet of a regulatory process and finally get their projects built to completion, we're going to always have this imbalance of too high of demand and too few homes or options to choose from. This leads to prices continuing to climb. It's a standard sequence of housing supply and demand. Now, another thing that's going to play a massive role here in the San Francisco Bay Area market is going to be the overall economics of it. What do the job markets look like? What are wages or salaries looking like? Are companies still coming here and feeling attracted to this area to put down their roots, bring their employees, hire from within, and start infusing all of this economic stimulus in the way of great salaries, wages, and capital into this market? Now, in a city that's already expensive, things like employment levels and wages or salaries are really, really key for those things to continue to match up. So with new job opportunities coming in to the San Francisco market by way of the AI boom, they are absorbing a lot of what was already vacant office space. They're paying really good salaries, infusing a lot of capital into these spaces to either build them out or make them more customized to their new work culture. We're already starting to see a bigger uptick in demand for people that want to buy luxury real estate. And the clip of new people moving to San Francisco has increased from roughly 10,000 people in the past few months to now just over 12,000. This is likely a trend that's going to continue. Now, it's true that an influx of people can definitely put upward pressure on prices, and it's a good thing for the city. So we want to see ultimately how this all plays out with the companies that come here, provide jobs, pay great salaries, people restoring confidence, or just coming here because it's now their first time and they don't know any different. But all of that life coming back into San Francisco and what it looks like now in a post-pandemic world is going to be really key as to how the overall markets are going to survive and thrive. So here are the final considerations for you here in this video. Elections can be really uncertain, but will have an impact on home prices here. But like they say in politics, life is going to go on. Don't allow that to be the single driver of your decision to actually buy and own real estate. Really what it comes down to when we're talking about ownership and owning your own property here, specifically in San Francisco, is what's going on in your life. Do you want to pay someone else's mortgage or do you want to pay your own? Are you going to be here for a short time and it really doesn't matter and you'd rather just write a check and forget about it? Or do you see yourself being here a long time and have a lot of faith and confidence in the fact that this is a great market to own property in long term? So if you are looking to relocate to San Francisco or even invest in it and you want the best mortgage advice that there is on the planet, make sure you send me a DM at Arjun Mortgage on Instagram so that we can connect. I answer all of my own DMs and I would love the opportunity to give you either some guidance, market data, or just help tour you around the city with the ideal places to live given what you're looking for. Now, I am not a real estate agent, but I do know the best real estate agents in this market and can certainly pair you up with the right person for the right neighborhood. And hey, before you go, if you want to learn a little bit more about what we've been covering and talking about, specifically with AI and what's happening here in San Francisco, make sure you check out on this same YouTube channel, The Truth About Living in San Francisco in 2024. This is a video where we walked through downtown and talked a lot about what's coming back, who's left, the good and bad, the real story of what's going on here in the city. Thanks guys for tuning in, and we will see you on the next video.